The tropical update. Are you ready for this? The first major hurricane of the 2024 season. And this is interesting because our very first hurricane, Beryl, which we've been talking about now, it formed yesterday. This morning was a Category 2 with the 8 a.m. update. The Hurricane Center has indicated they've found some winds now strong enough to classify it as a major hurricane. Winds 115 miles per hour, gusts to 125. Beryl is headed towards the Windward Islands. Let's take a look. Again, you see the Lesser Antilles. Here's Puerto Rico. Here's the Dominican Republic, and you can see Haiti here. These are the Greater Antilles. Then you get into the Lesser Antilles, where you have the Leeward Islands, the Windward Islands, and that's based on the trade winds. So the Windward Islands facing those trade winds earlier, that's where they get their name. This thing is moving along to the west at about 21 miles per hour, and its forecast, Beryl, is to become a Category 4 hurricane before cutting across these southern islands here in the Lesser Antilles. So the Windward Islands getting set to get hit. This was out to the east of Barbados. Barbados certainly keeping a close eye to things. I think about Grenada, some of the other islands there in the Lesser Antilles, all watching this carefully. And again, this one now with a very clearly defined eye, this major hurricane Beryl moving off to the west-northwest. I'll show you the track on that. I also wanted to mention we've got another area that we've been watching as well. Sea surface temperatures right now, more typical of what we would expect to find the end of August as we're nearing the peak of hurricane season. So very, very warm. That's why we typically don't see development of hurricanes out here, what we call the Cape Verde hurricanes or storms. We don't typically see them this early in the year, but already we have one, and I would bet this one will become another named system here in the coming days. Here's the outlook on Beryl. Again, forecast to become a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 130 miles per hour. It's going to cross the Windward Islands, then cut across the Caribbean. It's going to move towards Jamaica. You see Jamaica here. The center of this path may be farther north, maybe farther south. The track may shift farther north or south. Right now, the center is just south of Jamaica. And we don't focus too much on that because anybody in the cone needs to be prepared to deal with the direct hit. But I will say this about the center, okay? As it moves along, if it sticks to this path, the center would be just south of Jamaica, putting it in that right front quadrant as it moves by. So in that case, Jamaica would be on the dirty side or the hardest hitting side of a major hurricane potentially later Wednesday. This could be a big concern. If you've got travel plans to Jamaica, you definitely want to stay alert. If you have friends or family that are down there now, you want to make sure they're aware of the imposing threat coming up by the middle of next week. It looks like this center will stay far enough to the south that Puerto Rico will be largely spared the direct impacts. Maybe a little bit of rain, kind of the outermost bands with this getting closer to Puerto Rico. The Dominican Republic and Haiti also could be impacted depending on exactly how this tracks. And if it shifts, of course, things could change. But right now, there's pretty good confidence. You take a look at the spaghetti plot here, and the models are very much in agreement that it's going to follow this course and then track through the Caribbean, coming close to Jamaica. And then once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, there's a lot of question. Some of the models carried across the Yucatan, close to Cancun, bringing it into the Bay of Campeche and then up towards Mexico or Texas. Some of the models kind of break it a little farther north and turn it up towards the Louisiana coast. Too early to say for sure. High confidence through the Caribbean. Where it goes once it gets into the Western Caribbean, that's where the models diverge, and there is some question. So you definitely want to stay tuned for more on Beryl. Now, I mentioned this next area with a 40% chance of development over the next couple of days, a 70% chance that this is going to develop as it follows a very similar track to Beryl. This one may be a little farther north. This one may have more impact on the Leeward Islands or back over towards Puerto Rico if it follows a more northerly track. But right now, this is looking like it's going to follow a similar path to Beryl. So we'll be watching that one. And then in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche, we have another area. This is what was in the Western Caribbean, tracked across the Yucatan, and is now kind of reemerging over the Gulf. It's warm enough there that this too may become a tropical depression or even a tropical storm before coming back in. We'll see if it has enough time and enough organization to get that classification, but it is something else we're watching. So obviously the tropics very, very busy right now. Stay tuned to 13 News Now throughout the entire hurricane season. We'll keep you updated. The good news for us locally here in Hampton Roads, none of these systems at this point appear to pose any real threat to Hampton Roads, but things can change, and sometimes they do. So we always encourage you to stay connected to 13 News Now for updates on the tropics and for all of your weather needs.